Welcome back once again to another edition of Cape Ann Today with Erica Brown, the publisher and editor of The Cricket, coming to us once again from her office in downtown Manchester by the Sea. How you doing, Erica?
I'm doing great, Corey. How are you?
I'm
It's,
great.
we
So,
didn't talk last week, so this is great.
yeah, I know this is nice. The category today, Erica, is potpourri, and there is a lot of a lot of different things going on in your neck of the woods this week. What's the latest?
Well, potpourri because it's interesting. There's just been a lot of like human interest, kind of wild, interesting stories. Nothing massive, but just interesting. I'll start off with George Nicholas, who is, a gem of Manchester. He's really known for being. He's in his 90s, I believe. He's in his 90s, and he still walks the Memorial Day parade. He's a veteran, and he still walks it in his 90s, the full parade, 2.5 miles. Anyway, he also he has taken in the last several years, I think 10 or so years, to skydive on his birthday every year. And so
Right.
he skydived, and we featured that on the front page. It's a great picture of him in mid jump, just, GoPro'd and like, it's just awesome. He looks amazing. So shout out to him.
Yeah.
I also think that I would give a shout out to Shannon Capone Kirk. And Shannon is a Manchester resident, and most people know her because she is an attorney at a big law firm in Boston, and she's one of the nation's foremost experts, even though uh, in e-discovery, electronic discovery, which when she started her career, my guess is it was kind of an obscure specialty. But now with the internet and data and all this stuff, with big lawsuits, what she does for a living has become pretty good. Well, she's also an author, a la John Grisham. And by the way, she's been compared to John Grisham in reviews, so she's like the real deal. She writes thrillers. Well, shout out to her because her 8th book came out. She does this all on the side, by the way. Full-time attorney, and she
Sidebar,
writes.
please. I got to finish this chapter.
Exactly. But her latest book, which is called 10 Kill, Reader's Digest just named it to the top 30 books, most anticipated books of 2022. And by the way, it's not the most anticipated thrillers of 2022. It's all books. So it's like romance, all this stuff. And our own Manchester's, Shannon Kirk has been named to it.
That's
So
impressive, huh?
yeah. And then the other two things are both kind of school related. One of them, like ran last week, which a big shout out to Max Warnock, who graduated a couple years ago and is at Lafayette College. And he was on the robotics team, and his father was very involved with the robotics team as
I
well.
remember this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Warnock, he was
Yeah.
very involved. He's also on the school committee until this past year. Anyway, he's been involved with something called Electronic Formula One, which is a national collegiate and graduate school kind of competitive circuit for electronic high performance. Well, it's hybrid, right? It's both gas and electric.
Hmm.
Formula One racing. And it's, we have a guy who lives in, I shouldn't call him a guy, that's not very, a resident of Manchester, Mike Chapman, who is a Dartmouth alum. He is one of the leaders, the big managers. He's at the administration of the entire circuit. So the two of them had gotten together, but it was utterly coincidental. And so Max competed last month, I think it was, up in New Hampshire at what raceway is up in New Hampshire again?
Loudon.
I think so. I think that's what it is. Whatever it is, they did it. It was amazing.
Mhm.
So that was that number one. And then the second school thing actually is really worthy of its own story, but we kind of got it late. Did you know that Manchester-Essex Regional School District was named number 4 to Boston Magazine's best public schools in the greater Boston area this year?
That's crazy, huh?
It's super crazy. It's based on MCAS scores and SATs along with other things, but we're used to being a high performing, school district, to be sure. But I always remember us being like, 12, 14, 18. I remember people getting upset that we made it up close to 20. What's happening there at the school district? I mean, imagine how many schools. We're great. We should be proud of ourselves. Well, this year we're number 4.
Mhm.
Usually we get beat out by all the W's, the W's,
Yes,
Wellesley.
Weston, Wellesley. Yeah, it's like everybody. It's like a wasp middle name if it's in there or first name. Yeah,
That's so true.
yeah.
I don't know about Waylon.
I could buy that. Yeah,
Waylon Jennings.
yeah.
It's not spelled the same, is it?
No,
Anyway, so we have Waylon, Weston, Wellesley,
Winchester.
Winchester. Oh yeah, Winchester. That's a good. Oh yeah.
Right. Yes.
Anyway, the W's, we beat two of the W's. I think the two W's that were ahead of us were Weston was at the top and Winchester. And then it was, then after us, it was like Wayland, Acton, Wellesley, Lincoln, Dover, and Littleton. So that's amazing. A big shout out to the administration, to the school district. Essex and Manchester should be really, really psyched.
Yeah. Eat your shorts, Thurston Howell. That's
Lovey.
yeah. Also, Erica, there is.
I always loved the professor.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, he's yeah. I love the professor. He was so nice. Who loved Thurston Howell the third? And nobody was going for the skipper.
Although I heard he was the most fun off camera, though.
Oh my God, I bet he was totally.
There is some a late development regarding the Mac too. We want to button up.
The last time we spoke, which was 2 weeks ago, we talked a lot about this, so I don't want to spend a lot of time about it, but we anticipated this would happen, and it happened. The Manchester Athletic Club was, if just to remind anybody who doesn't know, who lives under a rock, the Manchester Athletic Club's land in the limited commercial district, there was two 50-acre parcels that were owned by the same gentleman, Anthony Simboli, who owned the Mac and all the property on it. He sold the property. He didn't sell the business, which includes the fitness center and the tennis academy, which is nationally renowned, actually. And he sold it about, I think it was now 3 months ago, is it? To Cell Signaling, which is a biotech company out of Danvers. It's privately owned. It's owned by a family that happens to live in Manchester. They want to build a big complex, a big corporate complex back there. So the future of the club was uncertain. Then the future of the club was kind of certain, but then it became certain that it was going to close at the end of this month because Anthony Simboli said, you know, I've had a really good run of it. He was going to run it, but there's some people just changed their minds, and that's fine. CST is now going to be running it. They're going to be selecting an operator in the next 2 weeks, but one thing is for sure, they have guaranteed that it's going to stay open.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think they're taking bids. They've hired a consultant. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. They hired a consultant. I think at the time there were six, lead contenders. My guess is many of them are local. One of them is connected to the family of Cell Signaling, after a worldwide search. But
Yeah.
after a worldwide search, my cousin.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, I think that this isn't a situation actually where they need to do a worldwide search and find, they just need to find somebody who understands that the Manchester Athletic Club has been around for 50 years. It's got 3,000 members. So that's before COVID. I don't know what it is now. And people consider it like a family. They consider it like theirs in our community, whether it's Essex or Manchester. So the truth is, anyone who's willing to become a steward of this the place for the fitness center for a while until they determine what they're going to do. And CST isn't going to start going before the boards with their plans for the rest of the property until next year, 2023. We got that confirmation last week, but I was thinking we might see them before the end of this year, but no, we're going to see it next year. So there's plenty of time, and it's going to stay open.
Yeah. The Mac is Manchester. I would like to trademark that, by the way, Erica. Can this count? Just in case.
I like it.
And lastly, there is a really cool exhibit happening at the Essex Shipbuilding Museum.
Yeah, I think that there's been some like really amazing things happening. Like I think about a couple weeks ago, I went to the Gloucester Stage Company to see that production Paradise Blue. I think it's still running through this week. That's got like actors from New York, and it was amazing how great that was. And this is in that same category. This is the Essex Shipbuilding Museum in Essex, obviously. Katie Montgomery, who is the new executive director, although she came as the operations director a couple of years ago to replace Chris Stepler, and worked with him for a little while before he went to the PBS Essex Museum. But KD came in like a breath of fresh air, and she applied to for a grant, I guess it was technically, to have the Smithsonian Institution come to Essex. And she got it. It's kind of amazing. It's the Smithsonian's traveling exhibit they've had for quite a while, for about 20 years. I think it's actually longer than that. But it celebrates rural America and how it's changed because rural America is dwindling. We're becoming more urban and more suburban, and rural life is becoming, less of a thing.
Mhm.
So this exhibit celebrates rural life, and it's going to be sort of a three-part exhibit in Essex. Essex is considered rural, which is lovely. And the Smithsonian comes in with their exhibit, and what you do is you customize it. So Essex will now have 6 weeks of programming, and there'll be three areas of the exhibit. They're encouraging walking, so it's going to be at the Shipbuilding Museum, which is down on the Essex River. Then you have the schoolhouse, which is behind it. That's actually Essex's museum. That's their local museum. It's both owned and managed by the same organization. And then the third floor of the town hall is also now taken over for the exhibit. So she's got some really interesting things that customize it. Like one of the fun things that they're doing, I think 2 to 3 things weekly in terms of speakers. They're going to have speakers, like one is going to be, they're talking about shellfishing, and they're going to have the shellfish warden from Gloucester and Essex, of course, speaking and talking about the history of shellfishing. They're going to have a lot with shipbuilding with, Harold Burnham, and, all the people who should be there. Gloucester Maritime is going to help out. But they're going to give some great programming around shipbuilding. But then they have this other thing that's kind of fun, which is they had some Manchester-Essex students, some seniors, 3 of them, came up with a specialty Essex Dungeons and Dragons game.
Oh,
Isn't that cool?
yeah.
So Katie's kind of, making her mark at
Yeah.
and I'm definitely going to go. It opens up it opened up last weekend, I think.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I love this time of year too. It's like the locals can breathe again, even though there are visitors still here, but the kids are back in school. So I think it's a good time to get out and do some staycation and exploring.
Exactly. I just dropped off my twin boys to 2 different colleges 2 weeks in a row. I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
So I'm ready to just kind of settle into fall.
I hear you. Well, this was a fun one, Erica. Let's do it again next week.
All righty. Bye, honey.
Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.